I wasn't invited to my father's diamond jubilee. 60 years of his tech empire, 60 years of Victor Kane being the king of software solutions, and Elias Kane, his own son, didn't make the cut. The email came through 2 weeks before the big night, a glossy digital invite with gold lettering and a guest list longer than my arm. Lydia's name was there, my sister, the PR princess who could spin a scandal into a saintly glow. Marcus was there too, my brother, the finance shark who'd bleed you dry and call it a favor. But me? Nothing. Not a whisper. I checked the spam folder twice, thinking maybe it got lost. It didn't. I called Lydia first. She picked up on the third ring, her voice all clipped and professional, like she was briefing a client. "Elias, don't make this a thing," she said before I even got the question out. "Dad's keeping it tight. High profile only. You know how he is. High profile." That was code for rich, connected, useful. I ran a small logistics outfit. Trucks, warehouses, the unglamorous guts of getting stuff from A to B. It paid the bills, kept me sharp, but it wasn't the kind of thing Victor bragged about at his cocktail parties. I hung up without saying goodbye. Marcus didn't even bother answering. Texted me instead, "Busy. Talk later." Later never came. So I did what any self-respecting reject does. I crashed the prep meeting. Not the party itself. Not yet. Just the run-through, a week out, at Victor's estate. I parked my beat-up sedan 2 blocks away, slipped past the security guy who was too busy flirting with a maid, and found a spot behind a stack of crates in the ballroom. The place was buzzing, staff hauling in chairs, decorators barking orders, some assistant with a clipboard yelling about the lighting. And there was Victor, 62, and still built like he could bench press me, pacing the floor in a tailored suit that cost more than my rent. He didn't see me. Didn't need to. I wasn't there to beg. I just wanted to hear it for myself, straight from his mouth. And I did. He was on the phone, voice low but carrying like it always did, talking to some investor I didn't recognize. No, just the essentials tonight," he said, laughing that big, hollow laugh of his. "Lydia's handling the optics, Marcus is sealing the deals. The rest? Dead weight. Pruned it out. Clean slate for the next decade. Dead weight. That's what he called me. His own kid." I felt my jaw tighten, my hands curl into fists. I'd spent years clawing my way up, building something real, something mine, and he still saw me as a branch to chop off. The investor chuckled on the other end, said something I couldn't catch. Victor nodded, pacing closer to my hiding spot. "Exactly. You don't drag baggage into the future. This is about legacy, not charity. Legacy." That word hit me like a slap. I wasn't his legacy. I was his embarrassment. The son who didn't fit the Kane mold, too scrappy, too small-time, too me. I ducked out before he turned the corner, heart pounding, blood hot. I didn't need to hear more. I'd heard enough. Back in my apartment, I sat on the couch with a beer I didn't drink, staring at the wall. The invite was still open on my laptop, mocking me. 60 years of Victor Kane, celebrated by everyone except the one guy who shared his name and half his DNA. I could have let it go. Could have swallowed it like I'd swallowed every other slight, every backhanded, "You'll get there someday," or maybe next time he'd tossed my way. But that night, something snapped. Maybe it was the way he said dead weight, like I was nothing. Maybe it was the laugh, that smug, king of the world laugh. Or maybe it was just me, tired of being the footnote in his story. I didn't sleep. I paced instead, replaying his words, letting them burn. By morning, I had the start of a plan. Not a full one. Not yet. Just a spark. Victor wanted high profile. I'd give him a night no one would forget. Not some petty tantrum, no. Something bigger. Something that'd hit him where it hurt. His pride, his deals, his precious legacy. I knew the vendors for the Jubilee. I'd worked with some of them. Caterers, decorators, the band. Small-timers like me, the kind Victor stepped on without noticing. They'd listen to me. They'd have to. I grabbed my phone, scrolled through my contacts. First call was to Jimmy, the caterer. He owed me a favor from a job I'd thrown his way last year. "Hey, Jim," I said when he picked up, keeping my voice steady. "You doing Victor Kane's thing next week?" He grunted a yes. "Good. We need to talk." That was it. The first piece. I didn't know how far I'd take it. Not then. But I knew one thing for sure. Victor was going to pay. and I was going to make damn sure I was there to see it. I had a week to pull it off. 7 days to turn Victor's diamond Jubilee into a disaster he'd never lived down. After that call to Jimmy, I didn't waste time. I knew the players. Caterers, decorators, the band. All the little cogs that kept a night like that spinning. They weren't the high rollers Victor courted. They were the grunts, the ones he barely acknowledged. People like me. And I was betting they'd hate him just enough to listen. Jimmy met me at a diner 2 days after I called. He slid into the booth across from me, a wiry guy with a permanent frown and hands that twitched like he was always counting something. "What's this about, Elias?" he asked, cutting straight to it. I leaned forward, kept my voice low. "You're doing the Cane Jubilee, right? Food for 300, fancy stuff." He nodded, wary. "Yeah, big gig." "What?" I didn't blink. "I need you to not show up." His eyebrows shot up, and he laughed, short and sharp. "You're kidding. That's my biggest paycheck this year." I slid an envelope across the table. 5 grand, cash, scraped from my savings. "Not kidding. There's more where that came from if you play it right." He stared at the envelope, then at me. "What's your angle? You and Victor got beef." I smirked, but it didn't reach my eyes. "Let's just say he's got it coming. You in or out?" Jimmy hesitated, drumming his fingers on the table. I knew his weak spot. Victor had stiffed him on a job last year, paid late, and blamed Jimmy for a mix-up that wasn't his fault. I leaned harder. "He treats you like dirt, Jim. You know it. 1 night off, and you stick it to him. Plus, I'll throw you work next month. Guaranteed." He rubbed his jaw, then snatched the envelope. "Fine. I'm out. But you better cover me if this blows back." I nodded. "It won't." Next was Carla, the decorator. She ran a crew that did the fancy setups, drapes, lights, the whole over-the-top look Victor loved. I caught her at her warehouse, surrounded by rolls of fabric and harried assistants. She didn't know me anything, but I'd helped her out once, hauling last-minute supplies when her truck broke down. "Elias," she said, barely looking up from her clipboard. "What do you want?" I got to the point. "You're on the Jubilee. I need you to bail." She stopped writing, gave me a hard look. "That's a contract. I don't flake." I pulled out another envelope. 3 grand this time. "You due for this. And for the story, Victor Kane's kid asking you to ditch his old man's party. Tell your crew whatever you want, just don't show." Carla crossed her arms, sizing me up. "You're serious?" "What?" I shrugged, kept it vague. "Family business. He'll survive." She snorted. "He's an ass, I'll give you that. Chewed me out last month over some damn centerpieces." She took the cash, tucked it into her jacket. "All right, we're out. But if he sues, you're on the hook." I grinned. "Deal." The band was trickier. They were a 5-piece jazz outfit, booked through a guy named Ray who managed gigs on the side. I tracked him down at a bar, nursing a beer after a late set. "Ray," I said, sliding onto the stool next to him. "You're playing the Kane thing next week?" He nodded, tired. "Yeah, good money. What's it to you?" I laid it out. 2 grand to cancel, plus a promise of a slot at my next warehouse event. He squinted at me. "You're Elias Kane, right? Victor's kid? What's the game?" I didn't flinch. "No game. Just need you to sit this one out. He won't miss you till it's too late." Ray laughed, a raspy sound. "Man, you're cold. He must have pissed you off good." He took the money, shook my hand. "We're out. Hope you know what you're doing." By Friday, it was done. Jimmy, Carla, Ray, all locked in. I'd burned through most of my cash, called in every favor I had, and promised more than I could probably deliver. But it was set. The Jubilee was a house of cards, and I just pulled the bottom row. I didn't feel guilty, not then. Every time I wavered, I heard Victor's voice, dead weight. Pruned it out. That kept me going. The night before, I couldn't sit still. I paced my apartment, running the plan over in my head. Jimmy would call in sick, blame a bad batch of shrimp. Carla's crew would miss their delivery truck. Ray's band would ghost, no explanation. Victor wouldn't know until it hit him. Guests milling around. No food, no lights, no music. I pictured his face, that smug grin fading, and it felt good. Better than good. It felt like justice. I didn't sleep. Didn't need to. By midnight, my phone was quiet. No one backing out, no second thoughts. I sat on my couch, staring at the clock, counting down the hours. Tomorrow, Victor would strut into his big night, thinking he'd won. And I'd be there, watching it all collapse. I couldn't wait to see the old man's face when it fell apart. Couldn't wait to hear the silence when his legacy hit the floor. The night of the Diamond Jubilee arrived, and I was ready. I didn't have an invite, but I didn't need one. I'd planned this down to the minute, and nothing was going to stop me from seeing it through. I pulled on a black jacket, borrowed a waiter's vest from a buddy who owed me, and drove to Victor's estate. The place was lit up like a movie set. Cars lined the driveway, sleek and expensive, disgorging guests in suits and gowns. I slipped in through a side gate, past a distracted guard, and blended into the chaos of staff scurrying around. No one looked twice at me. I was invisible, just like Victor always thought. Inside, the ballroom was packed. 300 people, tech moguls, politicians, investors with deep pockets, all there to kiss the ring of Victor Kane. He stood near the front, shaking hands, that big laugh of his booming over the chatter. Lydia hovered nearby, all smiles and perfect poise, whispering to some reporter. Marcus was off to the side, working a cluster of suits, probably pitching his next big deal. They didn't see me. Didn't matter. I wasn't there for them yet. The clock hit 8. That's when it started. I'd told Jimmy to pull the plug an hour in. No food, no warning. Right on cue, a murmur rippled through the crowd. Guests started glancing around, empty plates in hand, muttering about the delay. A woman in a red dress snapped at a waiter, who just shrugged and bolted. Victor didn't notice at first, too busy glad-handing a guy I recognized. Paul Hensley, some hotshot investor who'd been dangling a $10 million deal over Victor's head for months. I edged closer, keeping my head down. Then Carla's part kicked in. The lights flickered, once, twice. Then half the room went dark. No drapes, no fancy setups, just bare walls and a couple of sad string lights her crew hadn't bothered to hang. Someone yelled about the ambience, and a few laughs turned sharp, annoyed. Victor's head snapped up, his grin faltering. He barked at an assistant, who scurried off, phone in hand. I bit back a smirk. He still didn't get it. The band was the final blow. Ray's jazz quintet was supposed to start at 8:30. The stage sat empty, no drums, no sax, nothing. A low buzz grew into a full-on grumble. Guests clustered, whispering, "What kind of operation is this?" I heard Hensley say, loud enough to carry. Victor's face tightened, and he waved Lydia over, his voice clipped. "Where's the damn music? Fix this." She nodded, heels clicking as she darted off, but I knew she'd find nothing. I'd made sure of it. By 9, it was a mess. No food, half the lights out, no entertainment, just a room full of pissed-off VIPs and a host who couldn't explain why. Hensley cornered Victor, his voice rising. "You call this a celebration? I've seen better planning at a kid's birthday. We're done here." He stormed out, 2 other suits trailing him. I watched Victor's jaw clench, his hands ball into fists. Deals were slipping through his fingers, and he knew it. The room started thinning, people grabbing coats, muttering excuses. Lydia tried to smooth it over, her charm cracking, while Marcus glared at the crowd like he could bully them into staying. That's when I stepped up. I'd waited long enough. I shed the vest, tossed it behind a table, and walked straight into the light, right where Victor could see me. The chatter died down as heads turned. I didn't say a word at first, just laughed. Loud, sharp, cutting through the noise like a blade. Victor's eyes locked on me, narrowing. "Elias," he said, voice low, dangerous. "What the hell are you doing here?" I kept laughing, couldn't stop. "You didn't invite me, Dad," I said, loud enough for everyone to hear. But I couldn't miss this. "See, I made a few calls. Jimmy? Carla? Ray? They're not coming. None of them are. You wanted high profile? Here's your spotlight." The room went dead quiet. Lydia's mouth dropped open. Marcus took a step toward me, but I didn't flinch. Victor's face went from red to white, like I'd punched the air out of him. "You did this?" He hissed. "Yeah," I said, grinning now. "You pruned the dead weight, right? Well, the dead weight pruned you back." I turned to the crowd, arms wide. "Enjoy the party, folks. What's left of it?" A few gasps, some nervous laughs. Hensley was already gone, but the ones still there stared, half shocked, half thrilled. Victor lunged forward, grabbed my arm, but I shook him off. "Don't touch me," I snapped. "You don't get to anymore." Lydia rushed over, her voice shaking. Elias, you're evil. This is insane. Marcus shoved past her, got in my face. You're done. You hear me? Done. I just looked at them, my perfect sister, my loyal brother, and felt nothing. Not regret, not fear. Just the rush of it, the win. Victor stared at me, silent now, like he was seeing me for the first time. I turned and walked out, their voices fading behind me. Outside, I leaned against my car, chest heaving. They called me evil, but I didn't care. Not then. I'd done it. Victor's night was ash, his deals were dust, and I'd lit the match. I thought that was the end of it. I thought the high would last. That night, driving away from Victor's ruined Jubilee, I felt like a king, untouchable, sharp, alive. I'd taken his crown and smashed it, and for a few hours, it was enough. But the crash came fast. By morning, my phone was blowing up. Text from Lydia, you're a monster. Don't call me. Marcus, you're dead to us. Watch your back. Nothing from Victor. That silence hit harder than their words. I tossed the phone on the couch and told myself I didn't need them. I'd won. The news hit Monday. Tech blogs ran headlines. Victor Kane's Diamond Jubilee flops. Investors flee. Hensley's deal was off, and 2 other contracts tanked with it. My father's company lost millions overnight, stock dipping low enough to make analysts twitch. I scrolled through it all at my desk, grinning at first. Every lost dollar was a point for me, proof I'd hit him where it hurt. But then I saw the ripple layoffs. Victor's firm cut staff to stop the bleeding. People I didn't even know, grunts like me, out of work because of what I'd done. I pushed the thought down. Collateral damage. Not my problem. Tuesday, Jimmy called. I picked up, expecting a laugh about the chaos. Instead, he was pissed. You screwed me, Elias, he said, voice tight. Kane's blacklisting me. No one's booking me now. Words out I bailed on him. I've got a kid, man. What the hell? I froze. You took the cash. I shot back. You knew the risk. He laughed, bitter. Yeah, and you said you'd cover me. $5,000 doesn't fix this. I'm done. He hung up. I stared at the phone, that gnawing feeling from the night before creeping back. Carla texted later, same story. Her crew was out of gigs, clients spooked. Ray didn't bother calling. I heard through a mutual friend he'd lost a steady bar slot over it. I didn't leave my apartment much that week. Not because I was scared. Marcus could shove his threats, but because the wind was souring and I didn't want to face it. I'd pictured Victor broken, not me stuck replaying it all. Friday, I got a knock. Opened the door to find Carla, arms crossed, eyes hard. You owe me, she said, stepping inside without asking. I lost a contract yesterday, big one. Because of you. I shrugged, tried to play it cool. You took the deal. Don't pin this on me. She jabbed a finger at my chest. You sold me a story, stick it to the rich guy. Now I'm the one stuck. Fix it. I didn't have an answer. I'll figure something out, I muttered. She shook her head. You better. Or I'm telling everyone who'll listen what you did. She left, and I slammed the door behind her. Fix it. I'd burned every bridge I had to pull this off. Cash gone, favors spent. My logistics gig was barely afloat. I couldn't carry them all. That night, I cracked a beer and stared at the wall, the same wall I'd stared at when this started. Only now, it didn't feel like a victory lap. It felt like a cage. The family cut me off clean. Lydia blocked my number. Marcus sent one last message. You're no kin anymore. Victor didn't need to say it. His lawyers did. A letter arrived, formal and cold, disowning me. No inheritance, no ties, nothing. I laughed when I read it, but it sounded wrong, hollow. I'd wanted him to feel that, not me. I tore it up, threw it in the trash. Fine. I didn't need his name. I'd made mine matter, hadn't I? But the city turned on me too. Word spread, Elias Kane, the son who tanked his father's night. Clients I'd hustled for years stopped calling. A supplier I'd known since I started pulled out of a deal, said he couldn't trust me. I walked into a bar I liked, and the owner, guy I'd tipped well for years, asked me to leave. Don't need your kind of trouble, he said. I didn't argue. Just walked out, hands in my pockets, that gnawing turning into a pit. By the end of the month, I was alone. No family, no allies, no jobs lining up. The apartment was quiet, too quiet. I'd sit there, replaying the Jubilee, my laugh echoing in my head. I'd wanted Victor to lose, and he had. But so had I. More than I'd figured. I thought I'd feel free, unshackled from his shadow. Instead, the silence was louder than their screams ever were. It pressed in, heavy, relentless. I'd won the battle, sure. But the war? That was still coming, and I wasn't ready for it. Not even close. Months passed before I saw Victor again. 4, maybe 5. I stopped counting after a while. The noise from the Jubilee fallout had faded, but the damage stuck. My logistics gig limped along, barely enough to cover rent. Clients were gone, vendors kept their distance, and the city treated me like a ghost. I didn't care much anymore. I'd stopped looking for their approval the night I walked out of that ballroom. But Victor? I couldn't shake him. His voice, his laugh, that damn dead-weight line. They looped in my head, louder in the quiet. I heard he'd sold the estate. Tech blogs said he'd downsized. Some modest house on the edge of town, a far cry from the mansion he'd ruled like a throne. His company was still afloat, but the shine was off. No more big deals, no more headlines about Victor Kane, the king of software. I didn't feel bad for him. Not exactly. But I needed to see him, one last time. Call it closure, call it curiosity. I just knew I couldn't let it end with that letter cutting me loose. I drove out on a Saturday. Found the place easy enough, a squat, single-story box with a patchy lawn and a faded mailbox. No security, no gates. Just a house. I parked across the street, sat there for a while, watching. The curtains were drawn, but I saw a shadow move inside. Him, probably. I didn't plan to knock. Didn't know what I'd say if I did. But then the door opened, and there he was, Victor Kane, stepping out to grab the mail. He looked smaller. Not just thinner, though he was that too. Smaller in a way that hit me hard, like the world had shrunk him down to fit this new life. He didn't see me at first. I got out of the car, slow, deliberate, and crossed the street. When his eyes landed on me, he froze. No suit this time. Just a plain shirt, slacks, hair grayer than I remembered. "Elias," he said, voice flat. Not angry, not surprised. Just my name, like it was a fact he had to state. I stopped a few feet away, hands in my pockets. "Hey, Dad." I didn't know why I said it. Habit, maybe. Or spite. He straightened, set the mail on the porch railing. "What do you want?" No warmth, no venom, just a question. I shrugged. "Nothing. Just checking in." He snorted, a faint echo of that old laugh. Checking in. After all that. He didn't need to say what that was. We both knew. I didn't answer, just held his stare. His eyes were the same, sharp, cutting, but tired now, like they'd seen too much. We stood there, silent, the air thick between us. I'd rehearsed this moment 100 times in my head, yelling at him, throwing the Jubilee in his face, making him admit I'd won. But none of it came out. Instead, I saw the lines on his face, the slump in his shoulders. He saw me too. Really saw me, maybe for the first time. Not the dead weight, not the failure. Just me. And I hated that it mattered. "You happy now?" he asked, breaking the quiet. His voice was low, almost a challenge. I opened my mouth, ready to say yes, to twist the knife one last time. But the word stuck. Was I? I'd torched his night, his deals, his pride. I'd cut myself free, or so I thought. Yet here I was, standing in front of him, still tethered. "Are you?" I shot back. He didn't answer, just looked away, jaw tight. A car rolled by, slow, some neighbor gawking. Victor picked up his mail, turned toward the door. "Go home, Elias," he said, not looking back. "This doesn't change anything." The door clicked shut behind him, and I was alone again. No apologies, no big showdown. Just that, nothing. I stood there longer than I should have, waiting for something I couldn't name. Then I walked back to my car, got in, drove off. That night, I ended up downtown. There was a party somewhere, lights flashing, music spilling out of a rooftop bar. I didn't go in. Just leaned against a wall across the street, watching. People laughed, clinked glasses, moved like they belonged. I didn't. Not anymore. I'd wanted out of Victor's shadow, and I'd gotten it, burned it down with my own hands. But the space it left wasn't freedom. It was empty. I thought about Lydia, Marcus, the family I'd lost. Thought about Jimmy and Carla, the mess I'd made for them. Thought about Victor in that little house, alone like me. I'd won, hadn't I? I'd made him pay. But standing there, his voice still ringing in my head. I wasn't sure who'd lost more. I turned away from the lights, started walking. Didn't know where I was going. Didn't care. The shadow was still there. His, mine, ours, and I wondered if I'd ever stop hearing it. And that's where it ended, me, Victor, and a shadow I can't shake. What do you think? Did I go too far? Or did he deserve it? Drop your take in the comments. I want to hear it. If you liked this ride, smash that like button, subscribe, and hit the bell so you don't miss what's next. I've got more stories coming, darker, sharper, real. Stick around. See you soon in our next story.